Carla Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, crocheting, and always all of the yarny goodness that I love. Today is Monday, April 24th, and I'm so glad to be joining you today. I took an extra week between podcasts, so the weeks just seem to be flying by, and it's been 3 weeks already. So if you're joining me today for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are a regular viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to hear about my crafty and knitting and crocheting adventures. I really appreciate you being here. You can find me other places such as Instagram and Ravelry as cbcraftygirl. And those places will be linked in the show notes down below, as well as anything that I talk about. We do have a podcast group on Ravelry for Carla Knits, and we have some make-alongs going on. I'm going to highlight those. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Love Note KAL knit along, which finished on April 14th. This was a knit along to work on the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. It started on February 14th and ended on April 14th. And we didn't have a whole lot of activity going on, but I think those, who participated had a lot of fun. This was a knit along I was hosting with my friend Brittany of the Turtle Burger podcast. And, she and I both finished one and are very happy with our finished sweaters. So I definitely will, I definitely see more Love Note sweaters in the future. But the winner in my thread on Ravelry is Dorothy CR. So congratulations, Dorothy. She is working on a Love Note where she is omitting the lace in this beautiful teal green color. At least that's the color I see on my computer. So it's beautiful. So she's made a lot of good progress on that. So congratulations, Dorothy. If you could just send me a message on Ravelry with your complete name and not mailing address. I am awarding you a pattern prize. So if you would let me know your choice of a pattern prize up to $10, then I will gift that to you. So thank you to those of you who participated in that. The other two make-alongs that we have going on are 2 year-long make-alongs. The first is the Love Your Stash make-along. So lots of us are trying to use up our stash, enjoy making projects, using yarns that are already in our stash. Some may have been from a long time ago, and it feels really good to use up those yarns. But just a couple projects that I wanted to highlight today. This is by Tree Source Ltd on Ravelry. This is Elaine, and she completed the Be Simple Variations shawl. This was really pretty with eyelets, and I loved the colors that she used. I believe I favorited that once I saw the pattern. It looks like a really nice pattern, and I think it's free. I think so. So that was a beautiful shawl. The next one I wanted to share is by Yarn It Heidi, and she completed a sweater, and it looks great on you, Heidi. This was by Twin Stitches Design. I believe it was a class, maybe a virtual class she took on sweater, making your first sweater, and I think it turned out beautiful, Heidi. The last one this is from the finished object thread of the Love Your Stash make-along. The pattern is the Gift of Honey hat, and it's by Ravelry user DTROJ, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but it's Dete from Germany. And this hat is just so fun. I loved the bright colors and the texture of the honeycomb on there. It just looks like a really fun hat to knit. So if you'd love to see the objects or the finished objects that people are making and maybe get some inspiration of how you could use your stash yarns, please check that out. The other make-along we have going on is the blanket make-along. So this could be making new blankets. This could be working on blankets that you may have had in progress for quite some time, which is my case. But put a couple finishes that I wanted to share with you. The first is by Fireboy Wife. That is Lynn. She made the Hudson's Bay inspired crib blanket, and that just looks so nice and cozy. And then the other blanket is by Mystery Sewer, and that is Sandy, and this is the Painting Bricks blanket, and I think this is a Stephen West pattern, which it looks like you made pretty quickly. This just really a fascinating pattern to me, so really, really neat. So great job, everybody. If you're working on, you know, those blankets or working on using your stash yarns, that is great. And love to have you join us if you haven't. Would love to have you there. So you can check out details in the notes down below. All right, we will get into some knitting. First, I will talk about what I am wearing. I pulled this out today. This I knit, I think, in 2021. This shawl is called Grapefruit. That's the pattern. If you look at the pattern page, the shawl design was definitely knit in a grapefruit colored yarns. Probably the name for it then. But this is the Grapefruit Shawl by Gabrielle Imbault. And I made this with 1 skein of fingering yarn and 1 skein of mohair yarn. So the bright pink is by Fiber Me This in the Jaja color. And the pretty mohair is by Pineapple Yarns in the Fortunately Pink color. And I have not pulled this shawl out in a while, and I probably should. You know, we're getting to be a little warmer here, but it actually feels really good on right now. So I love, of course, the bright the bright colors, just really kind of cheery. So yeah, so that's the Grapefruit shawl. All right, on into a couple of finished objects. So the first finished object I have is this pair of shorty socks. And the yarn I used is, let's see, the green speckled is a Christmas yarn from Lamb Woman Knits, and it's called Merry and Bright. And the bright fuchsia pink for the cuff and the toe is by, let's see, Teeny Button Studio, and I didn't have a colorway name on that. But this is what I do for a shorty sock. So I do about 12 rounds of ribbing, and I prefer the 2x2 knit 2 purl 2 ribbing. And then I do about 30 rounds for the leg. Then I go into the heel flap and gusset, and then I knit down to where I need to add the toe decreases, and I put in that contrasting color. So I think that's just a fun pop. And you know, 2 different dyers, but boy, that pink really echoes that pink speckle so nicely. So this is my first entry into my friend Colleen's Instagram hashtag. She's doing, I think it's Christmas Sock Along 2023. So using Christmas yarns. So many of us have lots of beautiful Christmas yarns, and she's done several pair already, but this is my first completed pair using Christmas yarn. And this will be a gift for my sister for her birthday. She has a birthday in early May, which I realized very recently that this is the last week in April, I think. Yeah, next Monday is May 1st already, so I don't know where this month has gone, but that will be for my sister Laura for her birthday. So really fun pair of socks, and they did knit up fairly quickly. The other finished object I've shown before, but I continue to work on these. So I've made quite a few, so I thought I would share them again. These are the Christmas Tree Scrubbies by Daisy Farm Crafts, I believe. And I have made, there are 10 here so far, and I have one upstairs that needs ends woven in, and I have one in progress. This is my knitting with Reese's in the evening, crocheting with Reese's in the evening. So this is a crochet project. This uses Red Heart yarn, and it's the Scrubby Sparkle yarn, and you hold 2 strands together. So I'm using a white and a bright pink and a white and a green. The white colored yarn is Marshmallow, the green color is Avocado, and the pink color is Watermelon. And these are just dish scrubbies, but I thought they would be really fun to make for Christmas. And they go really, really fast. Once you get past the initial first chain and, you know, crocheting into that first chain, that's a little slow going. But other than that, it's a really quick project. So really fun. I'm really enjoying working on those, having a crochet project that's really easy. It's kind of really gratifying to make, you know, make it pretty quickly. So just thought I would share those. That is it for my finished objects. So on into some works in progress. Let's see. I am still plugging away at my Christmas in Bridgerton socks. So I feel like this is kind of a Christmassy episode with my Christmas tree scrubbies, the merry and bright Christmas yarn socks, and now Christmas in Bridgerton. So I did complete the first sock, which I have shown before. And last time I recorded a podcast, I was partway through the ribbing. So now I have, you know, I have done the leg of the sock. I have done the slip stitch heel and the flap, and now I am working on the decreases around the gusset. This is a pattern by Twin Set and Pearl. The yarn, and I just don't know if you pick up the real subtle shades of pale pastels in it, the greens and the yellows and the pinks. Sometimes I think it comes off really more white on camera, but hopefully you can see there is really pretty pastel colors. The yarn is by Sassy Strings in the Mistletoe Magic colorway. And I like the way the sock looks knitted up. I really do. It has the pattern on the front, and then it has the sweet pattern on the back of the leg, which I just think is so pretty and feminine and really fits the, you know, the Bridgerton, I don't know, I guess vibe. So I really do like that. But again, I just do not gravitate towards this project. And if I'm being honest, it kind of feels like a slog fest. Like I'm just trudging through trying to get this done. So I'm hoping once I get through the decreases that it will, you know, keep going better, but I still have to keep track of the pattern. I don't have this memorized. It is a 6-row repeat, but and some of those rounds are just knitting rounds, but the rest, you know, it's lace and it's just not memorizable to me. So I do have to keep referring to the pattern all the time and keeping track of where I am, which just makes it feel a little bit slower. So while I do love the looks of this pattern, I really do like that, this was much more pleasurable to work on, just being a simple, you know, plain vanilla, which means just knitting, just stockinette knitting in the round. But I will be happy when these are done. My goal is to have them done by early May. So that means I really need to crank on them this week. These aren't, this isn't a gift for my sister or anything, but they've been on the needles just too long. So I really just want to get these done. It just feels like a project that's kind of hanging over my head, and I really want to cast more socks on, but I I'm not letting myself do it because I know if I start casting another sock on, especially just like a plain vanilla sock, I'm going to want to knit on that and not this. So I must be disciplined. I'm telling myself to finish this sock and then I can cast on some more socks. Yeah. So I think that's all I want to say about that one. All right. Let's see. So I have like 4 projects that I have been working on pretty consistently. So I have made really, I think, really good progress in the last few weeks since we spoke. This next work in progress, this is my Willa sweater. So this is a pattern by This Bird Knits. And I was where that little star marker is the last time. So I have made many inches progress since last time. This is very good TV knitting, just knitting in the round. This is designed, I guess, to be a T pattern. At least that's how it shows, you know, in the photos. And it's, you know, a fingering weight yarn recommended for the pattern. I am using a yarn that I think is classified as DK or Sport. This yarn is the Fiber Company Erin Moore Light in the Shamrock colorway, which I've talked about before, how much I love the green. And it is a cropped sweater, but I am going to make it longer. And I am going to make the sleeves 3/4 to maybe full length sleeves, as opposed to, you know, a t-shirt style. Just the yarn itself is not, I mean, it is lightweight, but it's not like a fingering weight lightweight. And I think I would really enjoy this more in the late fall winter months as a longer sleeved sweater. So I am really enjoying working on this. I probably need to put it on barber cords or waste yarn to see, you know, how many more inches I want on the body before I do. It's just a little bit of ribbing in the body. And I don't think they in the pattern, I don't think you change needles for the ribbing, but I may go down needle size because I know I did the neckline in a smaller needle. So I feel like I would like to do the same with the hem on the sweater too. So that is where I'm at with my Willa sweater. Yep. So just making good, steady progress on that. I feel like I would like to cast on something else, like another sweater, but I figured, no, you're close enough. You can just keep plugging away at the sweater. Yeah, I really would like to get that done, and I'm really enjoying knitting on that. My next work in progress has gotten quite a bit of work. And it is slow going. This is my Brioche shawl. This is the Feel Good Shawl, by Andrea Mowry. This is a pattern that was gifted to me last year. And it was when I saw her release this pattern, I knew I wanted to knit it because I hadn't done brioche in a while, and it seemed like the perfect project to get back into brioche. So here is technically the front side, and that little circle marker is where I was at the last time. So you can see that I have completed the first section, and I'm just using this marker. I need to move that to notate my center stitch. Yeah, as I'm going along doing increases. So yarn wise, this blue color in here is by a homespun house, and that is called Lake of Fire. The contrasting color on the back, the cream speckled, is by Bumblebee Acres Farm in the Miss Bennett's colorway, so Jane Austen reference. And I was really struggling to figure out which color I wanted to do next. So I took a bunch of my DK. That's where some of my yarn is. I was noticing my shelves were empty. And now I realize I took my yarn, a bunch of my DK skeins of yarn to the library to get my friends in my knitting group their opinion on which color I should add next. And I'm really, really happy with this blue. So the blue color won out, guys. This blue is by Hank's Yarning Company in the cold colorway. And I'm not sure that you will be able to pick it up, but there is some sparkle in that blue. But I absolutely love that yarn. And that section, so the first section was a 2-color brioche. This section down here is a 1-color brioche. And I have, let's see, I think 12 more rows. Is that right? No. 8 times 3 is 24. I have 24 more rows to go back and forth on this blue section. So it does take longer. And let me ask you, if any of you have knit brioche before, I am struggling to move my stitches along the cord. And I don't know if it's just because the weight of this shawl. I mean, it's pretty weighty, but as I'm going through, I'm really struggling to push the stitches. So I feel like I'm having to adjust, you know, after every so many stitches. And so that I feel like is slowing down. So I'm noticing the bigger it gets, the more I'm slowing down. So if you have any experience with knitting this shawl or big brioche shawls with heavier weight yarn, does that happen to you? Is it harder to move those stitches, maybe those wrapped stitches along? I don't know. I'm wondering if that's why I'm struggling a little bit. And, you know, typically I love metal needles, and this is, I'm trying to think if this, I'm pretty sure this is an Addy, and those usually are my favorite needles for knitting shawls. But I'm wondering if something, you know, it feels pretty slick, like the stitches should move easily. And I find in general that my stitches do move easily on other shawls, but it's just brioche where I'm feeling like it's kind of slowing me down. So I was kind of digging online to see if there was a recommendation for what kind of needles for brioche, but I didn't see anything. So I'm putting that out there to you guys. Do I just have to go at the slower pace with the heavier fabric, or is there a better needle? I know the signature needles are very slick, but they are very expensive. I have one circular signature needle arts that I bought several years ago, a size 1 for socks, and they actually have broken, which should not have happened with such an expensive circular needle. And I have re-glued it, but I don't, yeah, the needle came out of the cord, and so I don't really use that because it's happened a couple times. So I'm not going to buy any more signature needles. I did enjoy using it until it broke. But any tips on moving those stitches along would be very helpful. I love the squishiness of this shawl. I think that's all I want to say. So I do feel like that is really good progress for 3 weeks, even though I would like it to be more. I'm still very much enjoying this. So after this section, there is one more section. You know, still debating colors and stuff, but I'm thinking a purple and a pink in that next section. And that is a 2-color double brioche, something like that. So that's even a little different than the first section. So really fun to do brioche knitting again. Yeah. All right, the last thing I will share with you is my blanket that I'm working on for the blanket along. I have to dig in my box down here. I confess that over the last 3 weeks, I have not been as good at my 30 minutes of knitting a day, but I am trying. I still made, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 completed squares, almost 7 squares. So these with the markers on them are the ones that I have added. This is just a miscellaneous skein. This was from a pair of socks, self-striping. These two were my Downton Abbey socks from last year that I made, the Obata sock pattern. This should look fairly familiar if you've been around recently. This was the piglet socks. This yarn was in the shawl that I made for a friend, and it was also in the hat that I made with the remainder. This is an Outlander themed yarn. And then this is a Knit Picks Stroll fingering yarn. I had made a pair of socks for Jenna a few years back, and so that is what I am using there. So it is coming along. We what am I trying to say? We had temperatures reaching into the high 80s. You know, we hit 89 or 90 a couple days in a row. Not recently, but within the last 3 weeks. And I was like, I do not want to work on this blanket at all. So but then it turned a little colder again, and I was like, okay, this is okay. So I am debating about maybe putting this project away at the end of April. I'm going to see it through the end of April. So that gets us through this week. And then I might pull out, I have 2 other blanket projects that I can work on. One is the Advent blanket that I started just last December. So that's making the different squares. That's a knitted blanket. And then the other is a blanket that Jeff's Grandma Marie had started, I don't know when, but many years ago. And I would like to work on that. That's going to be heavy too, though, because that's a worsted weight. So that one might have to wait till fall, but the squares definitely would be, you know, something small and portable, but easier to work on as we enter those summer months. So I might do that, but I think I'll definitely see this through the end of April. And if I want to keep going, I will. Otherwise, I probably will switch to that other Advent Squares blanket. So that, I didn't even share what this was. This is my Cozy Memory Blankets. It's based on the pattern The Coziest Memory by Kemper Ray. This has been a work in progress for many years, but I'm really excited with how many squares I have added. You know, just since I started working on this in February, it has been good that it has gotten so much attention. So at least I feel like it's gotten some good attention, much more than it has over the last couple of years. So very, very happy for that. All right, I think that is all of the projects that I wanted to share today. Those are the projects I really have been working on. As far as projects I want to cast on, I definitely want to cast on other socks. I would like to start working on a scarf for Jeff's uncle for a Christmas present. I think it's just good to try to get some of those things worked on ahead of time. I know for myself that I enjoy working on Christmas gifts throughout the year, if I can, if I feel like it. And I definitely enjoy doing that. I guess just a little chatter over what's been going on here the last 3 weeks. You know, last week snuck up on me and I realized that I probably should have podcasted last week, but I don't know. I felt like every single day last week, my time was so regimented, like, okay, you have to do this, this, and this on Monday. You have to do this, this, and this on Tuesday. And so I'm like, no, I don't feel real happy. I'm feeling just kind of frantic and stressed. So I want to do it when I feel a little bit more relaxed and happy and can enjoy talking with you guys, which I always do enjoy talking and sharing with you guys so much. But in there we had Easter. So we had a very nice Easter. I think it was before Easter that I podcasted last, but we had a very nice Easter. My son and his wife, we had us over for dinner, and they went all out with a wonderful ham dinner with rolls and potatoes and a vegetable and a wonderful dessert. It was pecan pie, cheesecake bars. It was just a fabulous Easter dinner. So very special. Excuse me. And our church services that weekend were wonderful. And speaking of church services, I am a church organist, for those of you who don't know that. And so I have been, I don't have a full-time church job, but this month I have been playing every single weekend. I think since the end of March, I have been on the bench in some capacity every single weekend. And some of those weekends have been 3 services. So, you know, some of that time during the week has had to go for practicing. I am very glad to say that I have this coming weekend off, the end of April. I have that weekend off from playing, and don't get me wrong, I love playing the organ. I feel like I am one of the luckiest people in the world that I get to, you know, have a job where I get to, you know, use my music, you know, play the piano, play the organ. I just think that's great. But I'm a little tired. So a little break is going to be very welcome next weekend. We are ending our school year at the college. So this is the final week of classes, with exams being next week. So I will finish up teaching this week, and then I just have to be at a keyboard exam next Monday. And then I am done with my college semester, which feels really good. And then my teaching for the elementary school students, this is our last week of the school year. Well, it's not their last week of classes. This is the last week of piano lessons. Our recital is on Monday next week, May 1st, which is why I am realizing that May is almost here. So we've been busy practicing piano, practicing bowing, all of that, and that's been a lot of fun. But again, I think I'm ready for a little bit of a break from that, to, you know, rest a little bit over the summer as much as I can, and just approach things in the fall again with some fresh, I don't know, fresh ideas, fresh outlook, just, you know, gung-ho and ready to go. But I'm looking forward to a break. We have had a college visit for Jenna, and she has decided that she's going to go to the University of Nebraska. So we had a tour day there, and then she got to go back this past week for a voice lesson with one of the professors. So she does want to study music. So a lot of things going on with Jenna, and we are preparing for graduation. And there's a lot more involved having a daughter at graduation time than having my 2 sons. So we have 2 boys, Aaron and Ryan, and then Jenna is our youngest. The boys did not want an open house at all. They're just like, no, we just want a family dinner, which was great for Jeff and I, you know, very low stress, very easy. But Jenna wants the graduation open house, and she wants the family dinner, and, you know, so she's got all these big plans and ideas. So we've been, you know, working on the announcements and sending those out, and, you know, starting to plan the food and everything. So it's just kind of a lot. So I know some of you probably have gone through that. So it's a good, fun time, but it's busy. But we're enjoying that, and she's definitely ready. Senioritis has definitely set in. I've talked to a couple seniors, and they are definitely ready to be done with high school. So she is ready as well. The other big news in our family is that our oldest son that just got married in the fall, Aaron and Kelsey, are in the process of buying a house. So their first house. So this is very exciting. Yeah, so They are hopefully looking to move towards the end of May, which is a good time because Jeff and I are both teachers and off for the summer, so we can, you know, certainly help them with that. But it's fun reminiscing about, you know, when Jeff and I bought our first house, and, you know, seeing our son go through that now with his wife is just, it's really exciting. So an exciting time, lots going on with all of our kids. And our son Ryan, that moved to Texas, I guess, is settling in and is going to try to come home for Jenna's graduation. So that will be really nice. In the midst of all that is going on, I am enjoying my knitting and my crocheting. That definitely brings me joy and some relaxation during short spots during the day when I can catch a few minutes, or, you know, a couple hours at night when I can sit down and relax. So really thankful for my knitting. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are all doing well. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It just helps get this channel out there. I really am hoping to grow this channel, and I appreciate all of you who are here and take your time to visit with me when I post a podcast. I would love to hear what you are working on right now. Are you working on spring or summer things, or is it still cold where you are? I would love to hear whatever you are working on. So I hope your knitting and crocheting or whatever craft you do is bringing you joy. Speaking of the busyness with graduation, I don't know for sure when I will podcast again, but it will be sometime in May, but I cannot say for sure. So just stay tuned. I will be back, but it just might be a little bit longer of a break. So I hope you are all doing well, and I hope to be back with you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.